just found a full-sized cat whisker. Look at this. Meow. Imagine if we had these. I mean, we practically do, don't we? Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. It is that time of year again, Disney interviews. So I know that people from Mexico and the UK have already been through this whole process, have gotten their acceptances, and this time around it is the Canadians' turn. So I was in your guys' position last year. It was my very first program. I was getting ready for face-to-face interviews, and they can be really scary, especially for something that you want so badly. I did a lot of preparing, and so I thought, because interviews are coming up, they're starting at the end of this month, I would put together my top tips that I found really helped me during my interview. So if you don't know, I interviewed last year, I think it was January 29th in Vancouver. Basically the interview, you attend a mandatory presentation in the morning, so I think it started at 9 o'clock. It's about an hour or so, and then you choose a time slot afterwards to have your face-to-face interview with one of two international recruiters, Kiki or Sue. I had Kiki for mine, and lucky enough I was able to pick the time slot that started right after the presentation, so I didn't have to wait around at all. I basically, most other people left who had later time slots, and then the 10 or so of us who had the 11 o'clock time slot just waited around for our interviews. I was almost last in that group, and then I got called in, did my interview, and these are the things I learned that I wanted to share with you guys that I think hopefully will be a little bit helpful. I have them here all on my phone. Also, look at my new phone case. Pretty. Yeah. So that's why I'm looking down here. Tip number 1. During the presentation, make yourself visible. I would suggest try to sit near the front, engaging with the presenters, keep a smile on your face, look really engaged, look interested, look like you want to be there. Don't be looking down too much, you know. Obviously, do not go on your phone. Do not look at your phone. Put that away. Do not check it. Doesn't matter. Nothing is more important than the moment that you're in during your interview. There's going to be times where you can ask questions. If you have a question, raise your hand, you know, ask your question. They do trivia a lot of the time, so try and answer some trivia questions. Remember that they're going to be seeing hundreds of faces over the next couple days when they do their interview, so you really want to try and stand out. So I tried to sit as close to the front as I could. I tried to have sort of a sight line to the presenters. It was in a pretty small room, so that wasn't too hard. But just try and make yourself visible. Tip number 2, do your research before you even go into these presentations and going into your interview. Try and watch as many YouTube videos as you possibly can. Read people's blogs. That's what I watched so many videos on interviews, and it's hard, especially being an international student. There's not as many people out there that are vlogging and making videos about the international programs and that process, because it's totally different, and it even is totally different depending on what country you're from. So there's tons of things out there about the Disney College program, the DCP, from American students. Our process is a little different. That's why I wanted to make this video, so there's a little bit something for my fellow Canadians out there. But just do your research and watch as many videos as you can. It's not gonna hurt you. No one's out there giving you bad advice. There's tons of good advice on the internet, especially for this, so just watch as many videos as you can. Number 3, when you're in your interview, it's gonna be pretty quick. Remember to really emphasize your strengths. Talk about things that you're good at. I mean, don't be afraid to brag. This is your time to really let yourself shine and put yourself on display. So don't be afraid to, I mean, sometimes it's scary to say, you know, I'm really good at this, or this is one of my greatest strengths. Don't be afraid to do that. Talk about them. Make sure they work, obviously, in the questions you're being asked. Don't just say things randomly out of context, but don't be afraid to brag about yourself. This is your time, and really emphasize those strengths that you have, and those will come through, and just try and obviously do it as naturally as you can. Number 4, relate your work experience to the roles that you want. Really important, I would suggest beforehand, remember the roles that you ranked when you got your role checklist, and think about how the jobs or volunteer experience or anything that you've basically done in your life can relate to those roles that you want. Make sure you look up the role descriptions online and kind of see what they're looking for in that role, and then talk about that. And so an example from mine is that right when I got in there, I really wanted to be in entertainment, but as soon as I got to the presentation, I learned that you could only be a character attendant if you were alumni, and the only character performer they were looking for was someone in goofy height range. That is not me. So I immediately had to kind of adjust on the fly, and I was like, okay, attractions. I think I would want attractions. So I really emphasized my experience operating a carousel at work. So at my current job, we have a carousel. I've been operating it for a couple of years, and I really tried to parallel the things that I do at my job now and how they would relate to being a cast member. Luckily for me, I work at a very large tourist destination. It is kind of like a Disney park, but a lot smaller, and like no rides but a carousel, but it has the same sort of values and same, you know, you're dealing with a lot of people, a lot of tourists, so I just really hyped that up. So if you have a lot of experience in food and you wouldn't mind working in quick service, talk about that. If you have volunteer experience working with kids, and you want to be in a role where you're around kids a lot, which is basically every role, talk about that. So just think about how your experience can relate to the roles that Disney is offering. Number 5, kind of along those same lines, be open to every single role. So by now, you've already done your role checklist. Hopefully you haven't put anything as no interest unless it's for like a medical accommodation reason. But try and seem jazzed about every role if you can. I know that some of the roles are less glamorous than others, but a lot of them end up being really great if you go in with a positive attitude, which I know can kind of be like crap sometimes, but just try and be open to every single role that they're offering. Don't really say no to anything. So what I did when I was asked about why I don't know if I didn't put no interest for anything. I might have put low interest for some my first time around. So with food, I learned that you couldn't have tattoos on your lower arms to be in quick service, although I learned later that some people did, which was weird. So I brought up my tattoo, which basically made me ineligible to be in food, and I didn't really want to be in food. Another thing was I think I put low interest for lifeguarding, and I basically said, I'm not a strong swimmer. I wouldn't feel comfortable, you know, basically saving people's lives because I'm not a strong swimmer. Don't be like, no, I don't want to do that because I don't want to do that. Try and kind of have a good reason as to why you can't do that. But try and be open to every role, and just know that no matter what role you get, you're probably going to have a great program. You're probably going to have a great time. It's not all about the role that you have down there. It's not all about the work. Obviously, that's why you're going down there. It's really important. But don't limit yourself and say no just because you think a role is less glamorous than others. Number 6, use Disney language. On their website, look up their values, look up the role descriptions, and use the language that they are using. So kind of mirror that language. So when you're referring to people who come to the park, call them guests, don't call them, you know, customers or whatever. When you're talking about things, just say the word magic. Like, don't just randomly say the word magic, but like talk about how you want to make magic for other people. Even if you haven't been through training, a lot of people know about the Disney 4 keys. So that is safety, courtesy, efficiency, and show. Safety is their #1 thing. They will drill safety into you at any point that they can. So try and bring up safety and how you had to be aware of safety in a job that you've had, how safety is important to you. Safety is their #1, so that's why they have it at the top of their list in their 4 keys. Next is courtesy, so talk about, you know, obviously being courteous and going out of your way for others. Efficiency, so being efficient, obviously that's kind of a no-brainer. And then show, so basically having good show or having like Disney look, being in Disney look, being receptive to being in Disney look at all times, and kind of maintaining a stage presence in a way. So when you're on stage, you're, you know, in front of guests, you're maintaining good show, so you're emulating what a good cast member would look like, would act like, etc. If you can work those in, that's great. You don't have to use the word 4 keys, because obviously if you haven't been through like 4 keys basics and traditions and stuff, then you wouldn't really know about those. But if you can kind of work those in, I think that would seem really impressive. But again, safety is number 1. If you can work in safety, do it. I don't know numbers apparently. Number 7, use the question period at the end to basically reiterate what you want. Everyone, you'll hear in videos at the end of every interview, even like a normal interview, they're probably gonna say, "Do you have any questions for me?" Almost every video that I've ever watched has said, don't say, "No, I think that's good, like you've covered everything." Have a question ready, even if it's like doesn't really have anything to do with anything. This is the best time to basically say, so say I was going out for attractions again, I would say, yeah, I do have a question. I'm wondering, what is the most important thing, or what is the most important trait you think an attractions cast member should have, and how can I work on that in the meantime? By doing that, you're saying, hi, I'm interested in attractions, and also, I am willing to work on myself in order to be the best attractions cast member I can be. So you're kind of doing double duty there and reiterating that you're interested in this role, but also that you are willing to make changes and you're willing to work towards it. So I think that's a really great thing to do at the end there. If you're going, you could even ask about that. People love talking about themselves. So if you can say, oh, how did you get started with the company? That's a really easy go-to one. Feel free to use any of these examples that I'm giving you. People love to talk about themselves, so if you can ask them about themselves, how they got started with the company, what role they started in, if they're wearing their name tag and it says where they're from and you have, you know, a special memory in that place that they're from, make a connection there. It's just always good to have something at the end to also make them remember you, because remember, they're going to be seeing and talking to a lot of people. So have that moment at the end where you can really connect with them, reiterate what you want, and be willing to make changes in order to get what you want. Also, during that question period, this is a good time, if you brought a reference letter, say, would you be open to accepting this reference letter? My first one, I had a reference letter from work that I had prepared. I don't know if anyone read it. I don't know if they just threw it out after. I don't know what they did with it, but I think it shows that you went to your place of work that you're currently at and said, hey, I need a reference letter. So you went out of your way and you took the extra step in order to get that, and to basically show yourself off and show that you're an eligible candidate. So I just said, like, hey, can I give you a reference letter? At the end, and she's like, sure. So I gave her my reference letter. Who knows what happened to it, if they even read it, but I think if you have one, go ahead and give it to them then. Ask if you can give it to them. And lastly, number 8, thank them for their time. When the whole thing is over, make sure you make eye contact, shake their hand, if it comes naturally, say thank you so much. Try and use their name. They got their name tag usually right on, so say, if you have Kiki, say, Thank you, Kiki, for taking the time out of your day to interview me. And that's like it, I guess, unless you have something that flows better than that. But it's awkward and it's uncomfortable, and I know it can be really scary. I basically blacked out through my entire interview. I don't even remember what I said, really, or what happened. I was trying to be in the moment as much as I could, but it's scary, it's nerve-wracking, you're putting yourself out there. It's something that you have maybe wanted your entire life. It's something that's so important to you. But also remember, you have made it this far. They cut more people before the interviews than they do after. So the fact that you got an interview is a great sign. You're already like halfway there, you're over halfway there. So just remember that they're not gonna go out of their way to interview someone face to face if they're not serious about them. So basically, you are the only person in your way right now. You are the only thing standing between you and being a cast member, your dream job at Disney. So just remember that seems like a lot of pressure, but basically it is yours to have. So just remember that. All right, so that's pretty much it. If you have any more specific questions, please feel free to leave them down below. I will answer them as soon as I can, as best as I can. And like I said, watch as many videos as you can. This is like one video out of millions that are out there. So just do your research, pick up those keywords that they love, use those Disney buzzwords, they love that shit. And if you want more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel. I'm gonna be putting out more content like this, especially around this time. It's an exciting time for everyone. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!